Greg Collins, Substitute Teachers Lounge, March 19th, 2024. I've made some observations from the Substitute Teachers Lounge Facebook group that I want to share with you. They have to do with negative posters and positive posters, and something I've noticed about both. And then, just for good measure, we're going to mix in what substitute teachers do when they make decisions emotionally instead of rationally.
Substitute Teachers Lounge.
You might be thinking, what has possessed Greg to make an episode about emotional decisions? And I'll be more specific than that, because you can be about as generic with that type of thing as you want to be. I mean, generally speaking, I think all of us already know that if you make negative type decisions with your emotions, they're usually the wrong decision. There are some emotional decisions that are proper. Maybe when you choose to get married, when you choose to make a commitment to some type of program, those can often be emotional decisions that work out. But there is a reason I bring this up, because whether you like it or not, on my Substitute Teachers Lounge Facebook group, for some reason, 2 years ago, Facebook decided to let you post anonymously. I don't like that on my page. Here's the main reason why. If you're going to post something on there, I don't mind controversy. I don't mind heated discussions, as long as you don't direct your comments directly at somebody. I don't mind any of that. What I mind is that you're not sold enough on what you're posting to post with your name. Maybe you're more of a troll that's just going there to get things stirred up as much as you can. You'll post anonymously so nobody can trace it to you. So my people know that I want them posting with their name. There are a limited number of exceptions. Obviously, if you're posting something negative about a school, it is possible that people that read that with your name will then know what school you were talking about, and it could have ramifications. I understand all that. That's not what I'm talking about. In fact, I will let you post anonymously on there if that's what needs to be done. But here's the observation I've made about all that. And then I'm going to relate it to the classroom. A couple of things that have happened. It seems like they all happened close to the same time. Let me tell you what started all this. Last week, somebody posted on the page anonymously. Now, the way this works, as an admin, I actually see your name. I'm not even sure my posters know that. When you post anonymously, I, or anybody I designated to be an admin, which right now is just me, I can see your name. I can keep track of your name. Facebook actually allows me to see statistics about you that shows not just how many times I've had to reject your post, but how many times you've been rejected on other pages as well. And that is designed so that we don't have the trolls. There are many times where I'll see like a generic type of name. Now, as long as they agree to abide by the rules, I'll still approve them, because I don't necessarily know that they're a quote nobody or a troll that wants to come to our Facebook group. But that's just to kind of protect the page, the integrity of the page, I guess maybe is the best way to say that. Last week, Someone posted anonymously, and I'll let you go back and look at it on the page if you want. It's still there. It's a few posts down, and you'll see my comment. They posted about an absolutely great experience that they had at a school that they wanted to share. They posted anonymously, which I went ahead and approved. As soon as I approved it, I jumped up and said, "This is a great story, but why post anonymously?" And the poster replied, it still said anonymous member, something to the effect of, "I just really feel cautious about posting anything publicly about my district and work. Here's my reply." And hence what this episode is about. I said, "Anonymous member, it's just that there are so many bad posts on here that people proudly post their name to, and then great uplifting posts that people don't claim. It just sadly seems backwards to me." Now, think whatever you will about my response, but that's the way I feel. That's who I am. If you're different than that, understand that. But I hope I have at least planted the seed. Stand up for your great schools. Maybe that school needs more substitutes. And if you pose something like that, then perhaps more substitutes will like to go there. But then I relate it to school. I mean, how often do the negative people stand up and don't mind everybody seeing them being as negative as possible, when the nice people, maybe in that situation, in a live situation, keep their mouth shut? It's sad to me. I want to go on record as saying and encouraging you that when you have positive information to share in a public place, be proud of it. If you have negative information to share, go ahead. But instead of just talking negative all the time, share some ideas about what you would do to correct the situation. Don't just talk about somebody or about how bad you've been treated without saying, here's probably how they could have handled that better. Now, with all that in mind, let's turn to the classroom. On a completely different podcast, different topic and everything. I won't tell you what it is. It's a great podcast, but I'll probably just leave it there. You want to know, send me a direct message. It has to do with travel. But anyway, one of them was mentioning a timeshare situation and referred to whether people make decisions rationally or emotionally. And oftentimes it's emotional. You know as well as me, I'm going to guess, especially if you're maybe over the age of 30 and in a position to do this, that perhaps you have taken some trips where they try to get you to meet with them to sell you a timeshare, and you may get a free meal out of it or a couple of nights, but they know what they're doing. They know that if they get you in a situation and pressure you to buy, that perhaps they can get you to make a decision, for lack of a better phrase, with your heart rather than with your head. Now, you all know I have a financial background, but I'll be the first to say that there are some situations where maybe the financial decision is not the final way to go. I mean, what if I decided I wanted to buy something and I realize it's going to make me uncomfortable for a couple of months in other financial situations, but I know how much happiness it is going to add to my life? Well, I might still go with it, even though that's not the rational decision. we are faced with this type of thing in the classroom all the time. We maybe even on a daily basis, it doesn't matter how great my classes have been in a day, there's always a student or two that are more challenging. No matter what type of class, I have told you that some of the challenge students' classes that I have taught, I've actually enjoyed. I shouldn't say more than, but I enjoy them very much because smaller class size, the kids tend to not be disciplinary issues most of the time, depending on what situation you're in. I like those kind of classes. But when I'm faced with the other kind where I'm challenged, I've got two ways to react. I can react emotionally. If I do that, you know what that means. That means I snap back at the student. I'm going to make sure I'm yelling. I'm probably yelling at them. Everybody else in the room is looking at me, and it doesn't matter if you go back later and apologize, even when you didn't need to. All those students saw you do that, and they can't get that image out of their mind to this day. I have probably yelled in the classroom in 6 years, I'm going to say at the most half a dozen times. You know what happens when I run into a student from one of those classes that they were in? Maybe they didn't even cause the problem, but they were in it, and they heard me react that way. Well, you know what? They still remember it. They remember the other positive interactions I had with them too, but those are the negative ones, the ones where I reacted with my emotions without thinking it through, instead of maybe a more rational, logical, thought-out reaction. They remember the negative part. So here's what we can do to help compensate for that. You know, maybe you even want to take the time to pause this, get a piece of paper, or however you take notes. I take my notes on my phone. Write down 5 situations that you can remember that challenged you in a class. You might have 5 from today, or at least from this week. 5 situations and how you reacted. Then come back to this, looks like about the 13-minute mark, and see if you could have done better in that situation. The times I overreacted, I felt guilty right away and apologized to the student. Let me tell you this happened in the last couple of days. I won't be any more specific than that. There was a student, I made a comment to him to the degree, and I've taught him since the 6th grade, and this has been 6 years ago. And I said actually something to the effect of, are you acting that way but just because you know I'm nice and you think I won't say anything to you? And he didn't necessarily say anything right that moment, but you know, when he saw me in the hallway after class, he went out of his way to come up and bump fists with me and said, Mr. Collins, you're not mad at me, are you? And I said, no, I'm not mad at you. I was joking around with you just like you were joking around with me. And he said, good, I wouldn't want you to be mad at me. Now, I didn't make an emotional decision in the moment. I made more of a rational decision in the moment. I was thinking, all right, could react 2 ways. I did make the comment about him challenging me because I was a nice person. But I could have blown off the handle. I at least let him know where I stood. That caused him to come up to me and apologize. And we went from there. Had I made an emotional decision and yelled at him, that student may never want me to substitute teach their class anymore. They may have told all their friends about me. the students that were in my class, I guarantee you, because it's so much out of character for me, by the end of the day, there would be a lot of students that heard about how Mr. Collins yelled out in class, because that is so outside my normal reaction. So I'll say all that to say this. I guess that's one of my most popular cliches, isn't it? That, and to be honest, we'll have to go through there and count all of those one day. But anyway, so you're going to be faced with all kinds of decisions in the classroom. Some of them you will have to react quickly and immediately, but those aren't emotional decisions. Those are necessary, rational decisions. But if you catch yourself, look back at your list of 5 that you made, and if you can see a pattern where you reacted emotionally too often, well, then you know not to work on. Moral of the story: try your best to react rationally instead of negatively. Let me say that over. Rationally instead of emotionally when something negative happens. It's easy enough when something positive happens. Something positive happens, you can react emotionally, hand out candy, whatever. But think that through. And then on the flip side, if you're a poster on social media, are you one of those that likes to post things negative just to get people stirred up? Or are you one of those that likes to post things positive just to let people know that occasionally things go well? I like the positive people. I like the negative people too, but I wish they would think about what they're posting. And I want you positive people to stand behind what you say just as much as those that post negative comments. So you've heard it. You've heard the episode. Do your best to go out there and be as positive as possible and make the decision that makes sense. As we close, always remember that you can email your questions to gregcollinssubstitute@gmail.com. Please join our Facebook group, Substitute Teachers Lounge, where we'll share ideas and thoughts about each week's show. See you next week. Music provided by Ben Sound.